All right. Welcome back to another exciting episode of the HHC podcast. I am your host, Jacob Moreno, and I'm here with my brothers Chris and Juan. Juan, how you doing this week?
I'm doing all right. Allergies been beating me up, throwing me around. It's been messed up, but I've been surviving.
Right? It's been us in Texas. We've gotten like a nice little cold front these last couple weeks. Here in Lubbock, it's been like below 20 degrees sometimes. So I can only imagine what it feels like when it's only under 35 degrees in San Antonio.
You're saying you would wear your flip flops or what? What are you saying?
Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm saying. It was funny because I called Juan. I was like talking to Juan the other day, and I heard him with his allergies, and I was like, man, is he getting sick because of like the cold front right now, like in San Antonio? And then he told me that like mom got sick the next day, and I was like, what? These people, it's like I like looked at the weather, and it was like 40 degrees. I was like, what the heck? I'll have
It,
to. I
it
gotta be
was
in like three
freezing.
layers of clothes.
It
I
was
had to be in
30.
3 layers of clothes and icy weather in Lubbock, and I look over and these guys are still sunbathing, and I'm like, huh? But nah, it's fine, it's fine. I get it, I get it. And when I was in San Antonio and the cold fronts came in, I definitely felt that stuff too. So, but Chris, how you been, man?
I've been good. I can't judge too much. I don't think I left my house from Monday until about Thursday or something like that. So, you know what I'm saying? But doing okay. Doing good.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm lucky enough. School got canceled a couple days in my week, so I did get to just stay in and
Same.
enjoy myself.
Wasn't at work on Monday on my own reason, and then Tuesday and Wednesday come around and we don't have school, so uh, a 5 day week turned into a 2 day week. Well, I worked on Saturday, so I guess a 3 day week, but it is what it is.
No, I feel you. I feel you. But we do come to you guys every Saturday at the 10 a.m.s. We were able to get on live pretty much right at the start. So, here we go at the 10 a.m. this time around. But we come to you live at the 10 a.m.s on all three platforms of Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. All three you can follow us whenever we're going live, but if you can't catch us whenever we are live, we do have the VODs on all three platforms shortly thereafter. Make sure that you do follow us on Twitter at Heroes Half Court, where we do talk about the Spurs on the almost daily. Um, we do love having the engagement with the community. We love talking with the Spurs Twitterverse, and we just don't be afraid to reach out to us, man. We like talking a lot of Spurs ball, so but we got a lot to talk about. We just had a rising star get announced, and we have our trade deadlines coming up. So there is definitely things that pertain to the San Antonio Spurs that we will be getting into this week. But before we do get into that, I always got to get this started off with Jake's weekly trivia. Uh, almost every week I try to bring some fun trivia. Most of the time, or at least like these last couple of weeks, I've been giving a lot of like numbers. And while this first question is going to be a lot about numbers, we're definitely going to be switching it up a little bit. So we'll be testing these brothers' knowledges on what they know about the history of our San Antonio Spurs. To start it off, though, our main man Jeremy Sohan, we know he's been killing it. We know that he's been doing the dang thing. I want you guys to guess Jeremy's stat line. So that would be points, rebounds, and assists per game. I want you guys to guess Jeremy's stat line over the last 10 games. Now, we know that Jeremy did get a nice 30 piece within the last 10, but we also know that there was a game where he got a little nicked up. Only got like, or I don't even know if he scored at all in that game. But, so I wonder what these guys are thinking about when it comes to what Jeremy's been doing. On court. I feel like there's no reason if you're watching the games, there's no reason you should doubt the potential that Jeremy Sohan has. Even if he's not like the best scorer in the world, that guy is like he just plays smart. He knows how to ball. So it's definitely something that I think there's a lot of people on Spurs Twitter, and I talked about this last week. There's a lot of people on Spurs Twitter that talk trash about Jeremy Sohan, and I just don't believe it. I don't think I'll ever believe that Jeremy's gonna be like a bust in the NBA or anything like that. Like he will be solid, man. And we gotta we got a lot to look forward to when it comes to a guy like Jeremy, and on top of that, we have a lot to look forward to in it when we're talking about the other works that we got too. We will be getting into those talks with them too. So
Yeah. For me, like he is almost like in that Kawhi and Dejounte mode. Not, everybody gets mad when you start comparing players, especially like great ones. But it's like at least he's like a defender. Like he wants to play defense. And you go from Tim Duncan into Kawhi, Dejounte, like your leader, your main guy. Once he does that dirty work and the defensive stuff, everybody else has to fall in line. And I think like when Jeremy starts to become more of a leader on this team, that'll help the culture and like the defensive, because we're one of the worst defensive teams in the league. And once that like kind of starts to build up on that, I think it'll help start to flip that around.
Yeah, you know what I'm ready for the most is I'm ready for somebody to get mad at somebody on the court for a defensive misassignment or for being late on this or whatever. Like even Pop too, man. Pop is so much more like just letting mistakes happen this year, right? And it's like I get it, but at the same time, I'm like, man, can you yell at these boys one time, please?
Yep.
no kidding. Well, before I ask you guys what you thought his line was, Josh is in our comments right now, and he said that it was 14-4-5. I will say that's actually not a bad guess. That was pretty close. Um, I'm gonna assume like I had set it as points, rebounds, assists, so I'm going to assume that's how Josh had it as well. Maybe he said 5 rebounds, 4 assists. Either way, I mean, uh, we'll get into that when I actually say the numbers. But Juan, how many points, rebounds, assists is Jeremy Sohan putting up over the last 10?
I got 15.8, 6.7 rebounds, and 3.2 assists.
Okay, okay. And Chris, what do you
Me,
got? What do
me
you
and
got?
me and Juan were very close. I don't know why this week I didn't go decimals, but I can add some decimals if you want. I went 18, 6, and 3.
Wow, y'all were
Although
y'all were pretty much
Although I'll
right
be honest,
next.
my rebounds in my head it was like 6 point like 1, 2, 3, like low.
Yeah, no, y'all were pretty close on your numbers. Josh with the 14-4-5. I want to say I think Juan was the closest. I think Juan was the closest, and the only reason I say this is because Jeremy Sohan's point was 15.8.
Ooh.
What?
It
Like right
was
on the dot?
15.8 on the dot, and then his rebounds were 5.3,
Dang.
and then 2.9 assist.
Mm.
So y'all were both really close on the assist. Um, Josh was just like I guess like all around a little bit closer, but you were like literally like on the dot with the points. So that's what makes you closer in this. And like if my math is correct, just because Josh's like rebounds were like right there, and then like same thing with like I guess the assists were a little too far off. But either way,
So there's one way that Josh was closest and one way that Juan was closest. So in what way in your math works that I'm the closest?
let's start. Oh wait, I don't think Chris. I think you were just close in the terms of like the rebounds and assists on Juan's numbers, but Juan was on the dot with the points, and that was the only thing that
So you
like
got nothing for me is what you're trying to say.
yeah, I got nothing for you pretty much. But we do know that Jeremy Sohan is a rising star. Who was the last Spur selected to a rising star? Who is the last Spur selected to a rising star? Um, I was looking at this earlier, and we like the Rising Stars Challenge like opened up in 1994. So there it's kind of I wasn't able to like completely look at like the teams on there. I do know who made the last Rising Star selection, but like um, I got you got to assume a guy like Timmy was in a Rising Stars challenge. You got to assume a guy like Kawhi. Excuse me. You got to assume a guy like Kawhi was in a Rising Star challenge. But I will say that we're a little bit after those guys. We're not on
All right.
the Kawhi and
Well,
Timmy.
because you said that, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you that you made me change my answer because I was doing before Kawhi.
No, it was after Kawhi. This is a I was gonna say AK, right after Kawhi. So um yeah, that's I
I
would
I see what Josh put, and let me tell you, I was pretty much the same. I was before Kawhi. Okay.
I want to look at his now because I already wrote my answer.
Yeah.
I wrote my answer down already.
So honestly, I will say, and
Oh,
this is my young mind going at this. But Josh put Dewan, which Dewan Blair, and my young mind was thinking he just meant to put Dejounte, and I was like, why? How did he miss so much of Dejounte's name to put Dewan? But no, okay, I get that now. So Josh's first guess was Dewan. I'm gonna have to keep that locked in as Dewan. But Chris,
I'm ready.
as
I'm ready. I'm ready. Honestly, I'm very not. I'm not confident in this. I just have a feeling I saw him in a Spurs jersey on All Star Weekend. Is it Simmons? Jonathan Simmons?
Jonathan Simmons, if I'm not mistaken, he was selected as like a rising star, but I don't think he was in the Rising Stars game, if I'm not mistaken.
What?
It was like something like that, like because it's like a maybe he was in the Rising Stars game. As I was like looking it up, I saw his name come across. I was like, maybe
So
he
it's
was in a
so
Rising
it's
Stars game.
even after Jonathan Simmons.
But Juan, what's your guess?
But Lonnie.
Lonnie. Well, that's completely false. Lonnie was
Okay.
not a Rising Star. Um, yeah, Juan got to change his. So
I
fine.
started to change mine when you said after Kawhi. Like I was
Yeah,
mid writing go
fine.
one.
Then, so our last rising star, and this is why I would say this is a difficult question. This is why, like, we really wouldn't know that it was Keldon. Shout out PJ for guessing it right on the dot, and then Josh, same thing right after. But yeah, it was Keldon. Keldon was selected to the Rising Stars game his sophomore year, but it was the COVID year, so they didn't have the
Mm.
game. They didn't have the game for us to
Mm,
watch. But he was selected as a sophomore for the USA team. So
mm.
that was the last Rising Star that we had, and I was surprised too whenever I looked it up and I saw that Keldon was our last Rising Star because I
Devin didn't
didn't.
make it.
No, Devin didn't make it. Remember, he got snubbed. It was the snub
Mm,
of the year last year, and I was annoyed. I was annoyed for sure when Devin didn't get his name called for the Rising Stars. But that's like it was interesting to hear that Keldon was a rising star in his second year, and trying to think about like what he was doing by that point. But it was after the bubble, so he
yeah,
had that great stretch in the bubble, and then we're still trying to keep it up through that next year.
Was the Olympic summer right after the bubble, or was the Olympic summer after the Rising Stars?
I think
It was
after
after the
that.
rising star. So that was certainly interesting to think about for a guy like KJ to be a rising star. But that's interesting when you think about that. That we do
Whoa,
have
whoa, whoa, you sound surprised.
our two rising stars. I think I'm just surprised that Keldon got it in his second year. Like
Well, you want me to tell you who my second guess was after Dwan Blair?
who?
Nando DeColo.
That
Like we
would
had
have been
somebody
interesting.
else like that. Like we were just sending like all of our young players, all our new players, because we were like a winning team. But I don't know if Nando made it or not, if he was anywhere close to it, or if we had a
That's
player
interesting. You'd have
anywhere
to
like.
you'd have to look it up, but for sure, like the only reason why I couldn't really like figure that one out is because I just had to look at like Basketball Reference to just see like what was there, and I saw Keldon first, and I was like, all right, cool. So Keldon
Yeah.
was the last rising star that we had.
Simmons was in the Rising Star Challenge, but
He
that
was
was that
okay.
was 2017.
He was the next one before that,
So there you
and
go.
then Tiago Splitter and Dewan Blair, and
In the
Gary Neal, who's
in the
what
same
thinking of.
year.
No, it was. Oh
Oh,
yeah,
oh,
it was Dewan. No. Gary Neal and Dewan Blair in the same year.
nice.
And,
In my head, like my initial guesses was Dewan Blair, Gary Neal, and then Jonathan Simmons, and that's where I landed.
Okay,
yep.
that's cool though. That's cool. I mean, y'all,
I'll be honest. I blew right past our current roster.
which again, it's understandable in the context that like we didn't have the
We didn't
game.
get to
Like
see it, yeah.
it's not like you
And
got
all
to
I had in my
watch.
brain was their faces running around in like their in our jersey, but with other people.
Because
And we didn't get that with Keldon.
when I looked it up, I was like, why am I not seeing him in a game? Like if he got selected, why am I not seeing him in like a Rising Stars uniform or anything like that? And then sure enough, like I looked it up and it was like this game was not played. I was like, oh, okay. So that's why like he just didn't get to show off the Mustang powers at that point. But it's all good. It's all good. We got that man putting up his 20 points per game right now, and he's killing it. But our final question, because we're talking about our current Spurs right now. Within the last year, how many trades have the San Antonio Spurs made?
Within the last how long?
Year. So from January to January. And I'm going to say January 1st to January, like January 1st to January 30th. Okay, that's like my year range, okay? How many trades have the San Antonio Spurs made in the last year? So as they're looking into that, before the January 1st timeline, we had DeMar was that trade before, and that was a sign-in trade. And then before that, it was another sign-in trade for Doug. Then being part of the like Russell Westbrook trade to the Lakers, in which we just got like little filler stuff. Um, Before that, like Marquise Chris got traded to us. Uh, Sign and trade to trade Davis Bertans and get Damari Carroll, and then
Yes,
finally we get to the Kawhi Leonard trade. And so
that was a long time ago.
that's that by that point that's a long time ago. So that's literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 trades you can say that had happened from before this last year. Um, our friend PJ, he says 3. Josh says 4. Chris, how many trades did we make?
3.
3. Juan.
Say 5.
Juan goes 5. Juan goes for the big baller number.
Yes, sir. Shot
Well,
caller.
the answer to this question is 7 trades.
What the?
On January 19th, we had traded and
Oh,
we had traded Bryn to get Juan, and
forgot about
like just like a
Saturansky.
little 3-team trade. Then we get the Saturansky trade. Then we trade Thad and Drew to get our first and Goron. We trade Derek for Josh and Romeo. This was an I guess like a draft day trade if I'm not mistaken, right? Where it's they Memphis getting our second round pick and we moved to next year's pick. And so then
Mm,
that's where they picked up Kennedy Chandler. And then obviously the big DeJounte trade. And then finally the smallest trade, but when we got Noah Vonleh from the
I forgot
Celtics
about that one from like 2
earlier
weeks
this
ago.
year. Yep. So we had quite a couple trades within the last year by itself.
Mm.
It's definitely something that I wasn't expecting to see again. um,
Well, I
he
remember like the whole talking point about like last trade deadline, we had made the most deadlines or most deals in season in Spurs history, which was like what was it, 3 or 4? And
Derek, Goran, Thomas, Wancho. Yeah, 4.
yeah, so I did that plus Dejounte.
Right.
So I went 5.
No, and Josh says, even though you have proof, I don't believe it. And I agree. I agree. It's really hard to believe that we made 7 trades in a year. Um, Brian Wright on his Go arc. I mean, like, hey, man, and if you even again you go farther back, this is Brian Wright. This is Brian Wright. This is Brian Wright. Um, all of that started from the Marquise Chris trade. And I remember when we made that trade, being like, man, like we like this was the deal that we made because remember even in that time we had traded Trey Lyles to Dallas, but then the tweet got deleted.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh,
so that was that year. We had traded Trey Lyles to Dallas and the tweet got deleted. And I was like, what was that trade gonna be?
I
And we
do
never
remember that.
we'll never know. We'll never know. Because it just said that Trey Lyles got traded to Dallas and it didn't say if we got anything back. It didn't say anything other than Trey Lyles to Dallas. And then I was just like, what? But I mean, we had ended up making this Marquise Chris move where we're just helping Golden State with their money situation. And I remember hearing that and being like, man, like I don't think we've ever really done anything like that to like just get just to just be in good relations with the other teams. And and it was something that I was intrigued to hear, because we made those moves a lot more through the next years. You know, being part of this the big 5 team trade. Obviously, we got a second round pick out of it, but being part of a 5 team trade to just help like move pieces around. Um, and then this one over here where we're getting, you know, Wancho and another second round pick, because again we're just helping move pieces, and Denver wanted Bryn at the time. Thomas Sederansky, another trade like that. Goran Dragic, they weren't using him or anything like that. So
Jake, it sounds
um,
like you're about to segue into the next segment.
so you know, the San Antonio Spurs have been in a part of a lot of trades through the last like year and a half. You know, about what about just like making moves to help other teams out. And again, going into our next segment, we have a lot of trade talks around the league that the San Antonio Spurs can be like big, big partners in this year. We just heard the other day that Kyrie Irving requested a trade. We know that the Clippers are trying to move off of John Wall. We have what else is going on around the
The
league? Obviously, the
Lakers,
Lakers are trying to just, you know, see if they can use Russell Westbrook's contract and get an upgrade right there. You know, so we
Yeah,
have
any way that they can try to get better, that they're going to try hard. You know what I'm saying? So they're
exactly,
going to be exploring. If you look, if you look real quick at my, or I guess I can just share it. This is just a CBS article, but in Utah, they're talking about Mike Conley, who's got a $22 million contract. Malik Beasley, who's got a 15.5 million, Kelly Olynyk, who's got at 12.8, Jordan Clarkson 13.3, Jared Vanderbilt. So they're doing well, but it's like we're unsure right now, right? Of like what is their ultimate direction? What do they want to do post this season or whatever, or leading up to what might be a playoff run for them, or who knows? I don't know. Looking at Toronto, we have Pascal Siakam, Fred VanVleet, OG, Gary Trent, Chris Boucher. So like, even though these are guys that like all four of those guys have been on the Raptors for years, now their names are popping up. So like I feels like a lot of teams just have people, right? Everybody's looking.
exactly. And the biggest thing when it comes to just like, you know, bringing it to the Spurs is that we have the cap space, we have rotational pieces, and we have like, I mean, we just have like the in a sense the space, the be able to the flexibility to be able to move anything around. You know, if we are receiving a bad contract and getting a first round pick out of it, or, you know, seconds or whatever the case may be, like, that's very beneficial to us coming around trade deadline, because, you know, we can move off of a Doug McDermott, we can move off of a Josh Richardson, and then take back 30, 40 million and be okay. We're not going to be above tax level or anything like that, and we'll still be able to, like, you know, just move on from the season and still have a lot of cap next year. So there's a lot of things that we can do that you know are really you know, can really spice things up for a team like us who haven't really had anything like this in the last couple years. You know.
Well, I mean, like, it's just an opportunity, right? Everybody's going to be looking to get better. We're in a league right now where everybody's so close, right? The standings and little changes to your roster could make or break you in terms of this year. For most of the league, right? Not us, but for most of the league. So we have the opportunity to benefit from that. Oh, you want to get better? Great, cool. I'll just take 2 first rounds. Oh, you want to get better? Great, cool. I'll take a good little first round. Cool. Oh, you want to get better? You know what I'm saying? So we could get better too, just in a different way.
yeah,
Exactly.
and
Exactly.
to me, it's like obvious. The first like major, step in the trade deadline is kind of this Kyrie Irving and Russell Westbrook stuff, because those are the biggest contracts, and you can't just start throwing around 30, 40 million like that easily. And we're one of the only teams, if not the only team, that can help facilitate those type of deals.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I would just be looking out. That seems like the most likely thing. Like, once that domino falls, then all the other little pieces fall. This is what we saved all our cap space for, was for this moment right here, for this week. We didn't sign anybody else in free agency, and we left all that room to try to help facilitate any of these deals. They were talking about that Russell Westbrook going to San Antonio because we had the cap space back in the summer. And so It kind of feels like if that falls through and doesn't happen, like the Lakers moving off of Russell Westbrook, we're still in play, like Jake said, to bring in somebody like Chris was naming off players like around 15 to 20 mil. Like we can absorb those without even having to move off of Doug or Josh Richardson. Like we can help take on bad contracts, all like the medium sized contracts, as well. If the Russ Westbrook or Kyrie Irving stuff doesn't, kind of fall where we need to help them do that. But I don't know. I'd be pretty disappointed if we went this week without doing anything like that. Like Jake said, like taking on a bad contract and getting a pick, because I don't know why else did we just save all that cap space? What for? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And might as well just use it this year and take on a bad contract. And even if you waive the guy or don't even like we did with Dragic last year, we got the first round pick, we got the Toronto pick, which ended up turning into Malaki Branham, right? And so I much rather would do that than just stand pat and I don't know, trade a Gorgie for Noah Vonleh and that's it. Like,
For some
so
cash considerations.
yeah,
For
so
more cash. Well, so just real quick, and I don't know if we can do this for other teams too, but like the Brooklyn Nets, or if we're talking about helping to facilitate a Kyrie trade, they have their own 23 first round pick. They have a Houston or Philly 23 first round pick. And then they don't have another first rounder until 27, 28, and 29. So if we'd want any, they have some second round picks from 25 and 26. So it's like we would be looking at those 23 picks. I mean,
yeah,
which for them it's like, do they want to give up their right away their upcoming draft picks to get rid of their star? I mean, they still have Kyrie. I mean, they still have Kevin Durant. They still have Ben Simmons and whatever. But so that's a decision they'll have to make. But that's what I would be looking for.
yeah.
You want us to help you out? We can. Cool. We got the money. Your star is very disgruntled right now. Who knows what he's gonna do? You know what I'm saying? So like, I think we would have some leverage to start looking at those picks for sure.
Right, and Juan, I know you had sent this to us a little while earlier. So Chris, if you could pull this up, but we had a nice
Oh
little
yeah, yeah,
trade
yeah.
from Trade
Courtesy of
Machine.
courtesy from friend of the show, PJ Harwan.
Exactly right. So we in this little hypothetical trade, we would be giving up Doug McDermott, Josh Richardson, and Yak to the Nets. The Lakers would be getting Kyrie, and we would be getting Russell Westbrook and 3 first-round picks. In this case, it's the one via Houston or Philly. I think, in my opinion, in my personal opinion, obviously, like the Lakers stuff is fine. I don't know if the Nets are willing to give off of that via Houston, via Philly pick. I think they would much rather want to just give away their own pick before giving us someone else's pick, right? Um, and so I like this trade on both, like at least the Lakers and us, the Spurs, end. But do the Nets give up that first round pick, and still be fine with it? Maybe, maybe not. Um, I've always been of the opinion that Yak is worth 2 first round picks if we can try to, if that's how we can highball it. But maybe he is only worth just that 1 first round pick from the Nets, and then obviously us getting a first round pick for taking off salary, and then another first round pick for giving away Josh Richardson and Doug McDermott. So if we're trying to balance it out, even it out, and see what that would look like, I think that this trade does make a lot of sense. And maybe there's like other small pieces going around, and maybe one of this first round picks is actually conveyed into a couple second round picks rather than first round picks. But what do you guys think about this trade?
Yeah, well, the way you kind of started to talk yourself into it, that's how I was when PJ first showed this to me. I was kind of hesitant because I was like, I don't know, like I would want to maximize what you could get for Yak or Jay Rich. You know, the more I thought about it, I was like, I kind of would just take this, especially if those Laker picks are unprotected. Who knows what they'll look like 4, 5, 6 years from now, what their team's gonna look like. If it's anything like that, it was with the Brooklyn Celtics trade, where the Nets traded all their picks in the future away, and it ended up turning to Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown, or the Lakers going to their rebuild with D'Angelo Russell and Julius Randle. Like those are all top 10 picks. Yeah, I'll take those picks. Sacrifice I mean, we're already a losing team, and you move on from these pieces to do that type of deal to get those picks. I wouldn't mind doing that at all. And then I think, I don't know, you give 3 rotational players to the Nets. I mean, maybe you have to throw in, like, what if we threw in the Charlotte pick from this year, like, to the Nets, and it's just, I don't care. Like, give them 2 second rounders, like, or maybe the Chicago pick. Well, I don't know. Chicago might blow it up, so maybe we want to hold on to that pick. But like, sweeten the deal for them a little bit by maybe sending them back something as well, like pick wise. But I don't know. You give the Nets 3 rotational players because they have to move on from Kyrie Irving. I I feel like that's something that could work out. And obviously, the Lakers getting Kyrie for Russ, I'm sure they'll be happy with that type of move.
Yeah, and then like I think the only other thing that I see as like not being a good factor um, is like the contract stuff. And a lot of people have been talking about this, especially with the Kyrie Irving stuff. And this is some talks that I've had on Twitter about Yak, which is he's on his last year of the deal. They're both on their last year of the deal, and so making a trade like this is still can be very like you're just scared to make a trade like this, right? You don't really want to do something like this because you don't know if you're going to be able to retain the guy. And
Yeah,
for the Lakers, they'll be able to retain Kyrie. I'm sure they will. For the Nets, it's a different story. And that's like the thing that again,
yeah.
that's why
I
Yak. Go ahead.
I think it's like, they're gonna maximize trying to win a ring this year with Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant's already requested a trade. You know what I mean? Like, it could all blow up as soon as the summer. So you got a team right now competing in the East, which that's what's weird about the Kyrie Irving trade to begin with, is they were one of the best teams in the East. Like, when Kevin Durant and Kyrie are both healthy, like, they were already like a hard team to be. I know Ben Simmons has been a disappointment for a lot of people, but like, you still have a solid team, and you start to build a little bit more around Kevin Durant with a wing 3 and D and another shooter plus a rim protector behind Kevin Durant, along with Nick Claxton. Like, I don't know, like, you just kind of have to hope that Brooklyn is trying to maximize this season, which is what the Lakers are doing. You're taking advantage of these teams wanting to maximize this season.
Yeah, and to be honest though, like, and I'll jump in, like, that's why I would try, if I'm the Spurs, I would try to settle for more than this, because of the three, this is a 3-team trade, and both of these teams are swinging for the title. These are big aspirations for them. You know what I mean? So it's not like we're helping them. We're helping them bolster their roster. We're helping build or whatever, helping with their books. Like, we're helping them try to finish the job, right? So I'm trying to look. The Lakers, they got a couple second round picks. They got a second round in 2024 and in 2025. The Nets got a second round pick in 2025 and 2026. I'm trying to squeeze one from each one of them out of this. Where we leave with those 3 first rounds and 2. You know what I'm saying? Because uh, um, again, that's what they're looking for. They're looking for the full thing. That's where I would start. For the Nets, the more that you talked about it, I was like, dang, man. If they're trying to maximize, what's a more maximized attempt at a title this year? If you're the Nets, is it Kevin Durant? Is it Kevin Durant, Ben Simmons leading the way with Doug, Josh, Jakob bolstering your roster? All 3 of them could leave. Well, I guess Doug could be there next year, but like 2 of the 3 of them could be gone next year anyway. Or is it just you keep Kyrie and you tell him to play and
Yeah.
y'all go try to win? And then if he leaves, he leaves. You know what I'm saying? Like, because what kind of long-term assets are you, like, in this picture that we're looking at right now? What kind of long-term assets are you getting for losing Kyrie? Nothing. You know what I'm saying? So if you're gonna get nothing long-term for him anyway, I'll just keep him. He's better than Doug, Josh, and Jakob. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
so, and that's what Juan was saying. Like, you got to hope that that's where their head is. That they're willing to, like, say, well, we got to get rid of him, but we also are trying. And then that's where we could step in. But I don't know. Like, this one, I find it kind of hard to believe that the Nets would do that because of that reason. I feel like I would just keep Kyrie. Um, the Lakers, I think it looks pretty good for them. You know what I mean? Like you said, to kind of just swap those people. You lose. Obviously you lose your future picks again, but they've been willing to do that many times already. You know what I mean? So who cares? But I would try. I would try to get a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and that's like the fun of these hypothetical trades is that like this is just something that will like put together, will think about, and you know, we're able to have like this type of discussion to be able to kind of understand what's coming from every side and not just from the Spurs side, you know,
Yeah.
because we didn't really talk about the Lakers, but obviously that's because this favors them a lot. You know, even though they're giving away 2 first round picks, you know that they're willing to do that because they're going from Russell Westbrook, who doesn't fit with LeBron and AD, to Kyrie Irving, who would be able to fit with them. You
Yeah,
know.
and I could see I could see the Nets, to be honest, being like in a deal like this. I could see them being like, "Yo, like the Lakers need to give us a second round pick too. Like we need to come away with some other player that we can hold on to for the next 3 to 4 years. You know,
Yeah.
something." So,
Hmm.
I could see it fall this deal kind of falling away because of little things like that.
Yeah, and like Chris was saying, you know, as we can kind of move away from this specific trade right here, but as Chris was saying, you know, there's other teams that are going to be trying to facilitate deals and stuff like that. Like even though we have like the most like the biggest cap space right now, like a team like Utah has like the assets. You know, they have they have a Malik Beasley, they have a Jared Vanderbilt, like people that are a little bit more sought after than a Doug McDermott, Josh Richardson. You know,
Yeah,
and that's just because how good Utah's been playing this year. You know, and like there's us and Utah pretty much are the 2 teams in my opinion are going to be like, you know, the most at facilitating. If
yeah,
Utah wants to do that, obviously we don't really have anything to lose. Utah can still try to win if they want to. You know, they could try to keep their guys and stay in the playoff race, or they can, you know, trade their assets that they have and continue to just build up for the future, right? But you know, like you were saying earlier with like the Raptors, if there's a trade where Pascal is getting traded to a team and they don't want to, like, there's like some guy that's getting like 12, 13 million, but the Raptors don't want him, he's not going to do anything for them, then that's when we
I
start to
mean,
facilitate that,
I
you know.
mean, people were looking at Utah as an outside sleeper for a Kyrie because of like Danny Ainge or whatever, right?
Hmm.
So you could see a Utah. Then you just named a bunch of guys. You could see a Utah saying like we're 27-27 right now. We're in the ninth seed, and if we have a shot to give up a guy like Kelly Olynyk at 12, or Malik Beasley at 15.5, or Jordan Clarkson at 13. Maybe we can make a play for a guy like Pascal Siakam. You know what I'm saying? And really upgrade ourselves and push. We're really gonna make a push now. You know, or whatever. So yeah, like it could happen.
Yeah. I'm just
Thanks.
hoping that like some of these teams get like desperate the way the Knicks got desperate for Carmelo Anthony all those years ago, where they traded all their, you know, pieces around their team and like future stuff for Carmelo, and then like they could have just waited till the summer and signed him anyways, like, and without doing all that type of stuff. So, you know, just hoping that I'm just a little bit more optimistic when like you start like kind of talking yourself into it. You're like, oh yeah, this could work. Oh yeah, that would work. Oh, that would be awesome, you know. And I really think like we're gonna do something as far as like the Lakers. I kind of like what Josh said in his little comments that we're definitely absorbing the Russ contract. I think that's gonna happen. And even if we do get him, I think he's just getting cut immediately.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
There's no
I
plan
would
to
love,
keep
I would
him.
love, I would love if we at least got like one small little like interview with him. That would be funny just to watch. I don't think he would play, but
I wouldn't mind having an extra point guard on the team,
yeah,
but
but
I
but
agree.
but I mean, no. If he wanted to play with us, I would let it ride. That would be hilarious. But I could, I could definitely see him like, well, buy me out so I can go get on a contender and do his thing and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Hmm. Now I know he said I'm pretty sure he meant the
Mags.
Mavs here, the Mavs, not the Mags,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, I think this is another big possibility that the Mavs try to trade for Kyrie Irving. It was crazy to see a Shams report saying that like the Mavs are only willing to part with Dorian Finney-Smith to get a superstar or something like that. Like that's like what they think that they're gonna get if they're gonna trade
I had
Dorian.
read a tweet. I follow a few on the Heroes Half Court Twitter page. I follow a few of the Mavs Twitter pages, and somebody had tweeted saying like, I been talking to la la la, and don't be surprised if Christian Wood is not on the roster by the end of this week. I was all, dang, like that. Like wasn't that
I
like
saw
a
stuff about that
let's go
too.
get him kind of guy? Like, you know what I mean? Like to try to bolster the roster or whatever. Hey,
Yeah.
just real quick before we, I just wanted to say a shout out and good morning to our grandma Wanda and to Olivia. Thanks for watching. Caps, thanks for watching. Hello. And then also PJ obviously has been into.
Hmm.
Hmm. Feels like blowing up your team to get your star point guard help by getting another star point guard doesn't do it.
Oh, for the
Um,
maps.
yeah, and I agree in the sense that like depending on what the Mavs trade, like they can still. I think Kyrie Irving will be able to fit with the Luca. Like I mean,
Well,
we
yeah,
were able to.
they're just desperate for. We need stuff to happen when Luca's not on the
Yeah,
floor. We need to have a way to not have Luca play
and
50 minutes a game.
and that's what I was gonna say was like I mean we saw how the Cavs made it work when it was LeBron and Kyrie, you know, and obviously LeBron and Luca are two different types of players, but they both still have like this pass first, you know, point forward type of like play set, you know, and so it's like especially whenever LeBron was on the Cavs with Kyrie, you know, so that's like all I feel like the second Kyrie Irving is on the floor with Luca, it's gonna be a lot of the same. You know, you're gonna see a lot of what the Cavs were like that when they were trying to compete way back when, and so I mean, if Kyrie Irving's on that team with Luca, they'll be able to figure it out, and I think you know a trade centered around Dorian Finney-Smith
I don't know
will
about
be like
that.
that
I
like
think anything
I think it'll
I think
boost them.
anything Kyrie's on it will find a way to fall apart and get everybody get traded.
So here's what I'll say. Here's what I'll say. Like because on the court, this is like it can work out when
It's
it's
working
when
out in
it's like
Brooklyn
a
right now.
exactly. But it's just because of things that are happening like you know away from the game that makes it you know not work out
Yes,
in the end. And
exactly.
so
Because of
if
Kyrie Irving.
yeah
Now I'll say this to bring it kind of bring it back around to and Caps did say too Luca and Kyrie, but Kyrie would be cool. Dinwiddie back on the Nets. Yeah, right. If we're helping the Dallas Mavericks as the Spurs, if we're helping the Dallas Mavericks make a move, I'm okay. I'm looking at they have a first round in 24, 25, 26,
Yeah.
27. Like, let's go. Like at that point, like if I'm the Spurs again, if I'm gonna be and I understand that we do also want to kind of build some relationships again, and that's what our gym's been doing in the past year, right? That's why we've been seeing more of those moves and trying to get in good graces with other people, and we've been so set and not needing to make trades, and the little trades we've done have always worked out for us, right? And that changes how people want to do business with us over time. So on that point, I get it, but at the same time, again, like I think we should be able to say like, okay, we're helping again. Mavs will be doing this to push Luka into a lock for Western Conference Finals. We're trying to make a title run. You know what I'm saying? So good. Okay, good. You want to be good for the next 3 years? Well, then we'll take your first round for the next 3 years.
Yeah. I agree.
hmm
I mean, this is the same like trade deadline where last year we turned Derek White into Jay Rich and Blake Wesley. So like
and Romeo Langford.
and Romeo Linkford. And so we got there's things out there that we could be, you know, we wouldn't even be expecting, and we're gonna get like some type of deal, some type of pick, like we're not even ready for. I also think you got to be pay attention to Zach Collins, because they love pointing out that his contract is like partial guaranteed. So some of these teams, will be able to kind of shave some cap if they like absorb a contract for matching salary purposes and then just save money by getting rid of him.
Mm, that
Yeah,
makes
and
that makes sense.
and then on top of the fact that like next year is a team deal as well, so it's like they don't even have to pick up the option if they decide to keep him for the year,
Yeah.
and so
Well,
it's like
we've kind of been talking about the Kyrie trade, kind of is how we've been framing it, right? Because he's a big name, and how us facilitating a trade like that would, at least in PJ's, it involved Doug and Jay Rich, but like, is there anybody else you personally are like, okay, I'm willing to test the market and see what we can get for any of these, like, you know what I mean? Like, is it still just basically like anybody who cares, not named like the top four guys or something?
yeah,
I mean, I I I wouldn't mind if like obviously like Yak expiring contract as well. Like so, yeah. Well, he's been in trade talks for a while. But yeah, I mean, I like Zach Collins, but if Zach Collins gets traded, I mean, it's not gonna hurt my feelings, Romeo. Just because some of these, older guys, yeah, if they get like some other team wants to kind of give a flyer on them, thinks they can help bolster their team at the deadline, I wouldn't mind, I guess, moving on. It'll open up any of these minutes will just open up for people I want to see like Malaki, Blake, and even Isaiah Roby. I want to see Isaiah Roby on play. So
Yeah. I'm with you guys. I will say, like, just in terms of we've been without Devin for a good stretch. Sohan just had a small injury, right? Come up, so we have bodies because of guys like Isaiah Roby and what's his name? Stanley. But
yeah,
but Kata Bates, man, Kata Bates in the past like week and a half has just had a really solid time out in the court. Like he just like he does all the things that you want him to do, but he does it 3 inches taller than the next guy. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And his arms are just a little bit longer. So just to see him be able to go and get and get and get layups off get layups off over a guy like Joel Embiid or something like that over this past week, like just him doing that a few times, I was like, okay, that guy is valuable enough to sit on your roster, to sit on our roster. I feel for the rest of the year in a 12 to 15 spot, 11 to 15 spot, with the mindset that he's probably going to get playing time because of our injuries and whatnot. So I'll be down to hang on with him. But I'm with you guys. Like I want to see Roby play. I want to see more Stanley Johnson. Stanley Johnson reminds me, his demeanor reminds me so much of Bryn Forbes. Like he's a little angsty. He's a little bit like when he makes a mistake, he has an outward expression of his own, like, dang, I messed up, and he wants to kind of go get it back, but he doesn't do it like, shooting the three. He does it in a lot of other different ways. But just when I watch him play, he just reminds me a lot of Bryn Forbes in that way. And then a little bit in a bad way, because one time he made a mistake and got the ball and tried to go do something else and made it worse. And I was like, no. I was like,
yeah.
we don't need you to play hero ball right now, man. Like, but
I,
anyways, just an
I
observation.
real quick, Josh said the KBD love from Chris. What is going on here? And this is
Hey,
Billy's oldest time.
I had to butter you guys up before we get into Zach Collins again. No, I'm just kidding.
yeah,
No, man.
I had saw that maybe like Stanley Johnson might, Stanley Johnson, there's a chance he could get moved, if because of what he's shown out. Obviously, yeah, he was hitting like 50% from three, like over a little bit of a stretch. That's not like sustainable, but he wasn't like at a high volume. But if he like showed what he could do, and a team wants Stanley Johnson for a second round pick or a
Yeah,
late first,
yeah.
I don't know. I
And
mean,
I think that's kind of what I'm saying too. Is like I like Stanley Johnson. I like Roby, and I want to see them. But what you're saying is, if somebody wants to give us something for them, then I'm cool with letting a guy like Kata Bates take their spot and just
yeah,
serve that role, and that's it, right? And we'll try to fill that hole with a new young guy again at some other point. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just down with that. Let's see. Going back just a little bit. Only relationships with Celtics and Nets. Everyone else hates us. Yeah. So exactly right. Like we've had a way of doing things, and it has an effect, right? So we're in a change from many aspects of our organization. We got to tweak things as we move along. Um, yeah, I think we all agree with that. This is the one that I wanted to look at right there. Sorry, this is the one right here. Clippers just made a strong offer for Kyrie. I want to see what that is right there.
Um, I do remember something along the lines of like it was gonna involve Norman Powell. I don't know if this is like a new like thing, like has more specifics or anything like that. Um,
Check
but
it.
I know like I just know that like the Clippers were involved in trade talks with Kyrie like as of yesterday in that sense.
Mhm.
with like John
Um,
Wall's deal, or no, he got bought out, so he doesn't have a big
yeah, John
contract.
Wall's on like a $1 million deal right now, but it would have to involve a guy like Norman Powell, Luke Kennard. He said Bleacher Report 2 minutes ago. So yeah, like it would have to involve those guys. Terrence Mann, just because he's like their youngest player, the most promising and stuff like that. So there's not a lot like the Clippers because the Clippers don't have draft capital. They can't really trade any picks. So they have to like move off of like those guys that are like at the end of their rotations, or even more like in their rotation if it's like a guy like Norman Powell and Terrence Mann, so
Yep.
um they like there's something along the lines of that with the Clippers, and I don't really know if there is like a way that we can facilitate a trade and us benefit from it um with the Clippers and the Nets, but I don't know. I mean, there's always something that you can look into for that kind of stuff. Going back to what Chris was saying while he's looking for that article.
I can't find it on Bleacher Report just yet or on their Twitter account. I will say it's interesting on Bleacher Report's Twitter. It says Brooklyn plans to keep Kyrie Irving sidelined until a trade is finalized. I'm like, damn.
Yeah.
So then they're not, they don't agree with me, and they're like, well, let's just have him play. He'd be like Ben Simmons to say he's not gonna play.
Okay,
No,
PJ just said odds on it. I did see something about the Phoenix Suns being interested in Kyrie. If that'd be insane if they made a deal like that.
I feel like a guy like Chris Paul would be like mature enough and to be like I find how he can be successful with Kevin Durant. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
So that could be something that is beneficial on both sides. And then you
no,
can see what can you bring. Can you bring a new life out of Ayton and Booker with the new point guard? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
I can see that.
yeah, no. I mean, there was. I think I saw some big trade. There was some big trade where it was like, oh, and I didn't really think it would be super realistic, but it was a trade where it was like trading CP3, DeAndre Ayton, and a bunch of picks to just get Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, like to get both of them with
What?
and pair them with Devin
What?
Booker. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. But it was like the only other like players involved were Jay Crowder and Dario Saric. So it was like the Suns would have pretty much
It
kept
was kind
their
of
their
clean.
team. Yeah, they would have kept their team, and it would have been Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, Mikal Bridges, and Kyrie Irving, and that would have been like at least like a four out of those five right there. You get some center that can just sit in the paint like that, and you're golden. You're
Hmm.
golden for that. So that would be a crazy thing. I don't know if the Nets would be willing to do anything like that, but I don't even know if the Suns would be willing to part with as many picks as like the thing had said. But um, I that's like the fun stuff about the trade deadline, and again, like just being a Spurs fan and not being used to being in like talks and stuff like that. It's exciting that we are finally like doing things, you know.
Mhm.
So
Cap
it,
says if
it's
that happens, we'll give them Jakob. I was thinking the same thing. Like if they need a center, just like see what else like some of these other teams that can offer us pick wise, and that's
hmm
what I think. Sometimes you said like you made a comment, Jake. Like I don't know if that'll be enough. I don't know if that's it. Like I think that's where we come in and we throw in like a Jay Rich or like a something like
Doug
that,
McDermott,
and
something that makes it easier, right,
yeah,
for
well,
them to
yeah,
want
to
to say
make
yeah.
and just hopefully get some picks back and get ready to start our like or to jumpstart our rebuild. Um, but yeah, I think the biggest thing to look forward to is this Kyrie Irving and Russell Westbrook stuff because those are like the biggest contracts trying to get moved.
Yeah.
Um, and then even after that, I really think we'll still be a play all the way into the final minute for any
hmm
for any team.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about all these trades, and I feel like the biggest thing when it comes to making these trades for us is that we're opening up spots.
Yes,
You know,
sir.
we're opening up rotational minutes. We're getting positions open so that a guy like Malaki, a guy like Jeremy, well, Jeremy's already in the starting lineup, but mainly a guy like Malaki and a guy like Blake,
It's
right?
it's been crazy to see the few instances now where we've got to see Malachi, Jeremy, and Blake like play together or play big minutes all in the same game, and it's been fun.
And so it brings us into the second topic, which is our rising star, Jeremy Sohan. But we can also talk about the other guys, even if they just weren't named rising stars. You know, Jeremy has been killing it, and we were able to finally get that to be recognized, which is amazing. Like we were talking about earlier, Keldon was the last rising star that we had, and this is the first time we had a rookie in Jeremy do it in quite a long time. So like it's a big milestone. It's a big milestone for us to be noticed, for us to be able to be on the map and be like, okay, you know, we are a young team and we have people that are promising, you know. So it's been great to see a guy like Jeremy and Caps, talking about Malachi says that he's been super impressed by him and that he reminds him of Michael Redd, you know. So I I don't know if Michael Redd's the comparison that I have, but I do agree. Like he's going to be a good scorer. He's going to be a good scorer, and I think off the bench, like Malachi, you know, as it sucks to say, he's going to be everything that we wanted Lonnie to be for the team, you know. And Lonnie's been killing it too in Los Angeles, but like exactly of like what we had wanted a guy like Lonnie to be, 18 points coming off the bench as a nice spark plug is exactly what a guy like Malachi is going to be, and he's showing it off this year. So, are there any like things from the young guys that y'all been really excited to see and what you're ready to see come after the trade deadline and after this All-Star break?
Yeah, well, kind of like what you said. Like I know you said like Jeremy's starting, but he still defers because he's a rookie. He's 19 years old. So if you move on from a Jay Rich or a Doug, you know, or all three of them, like Yak, Doug, and Jay Rich, like Sohan will have to take on that mantle of responsibility. Like he'll have to be a primary scorer or playmaker, and just to see them like Malachi won't have, because if this team was fully healthy and Devin and Keldon were starting and then Jay Rich and Doug were off the bench, like Malachi would be buried in the on the depth chart. He would be nowhere near getting 30 minutes a game like he has been the last 2 weeks. So that's kind of what Malachi's like little surgeons here at the end or closer to the trade deadline has made it so much easier for me to go, all right, I guess I'll move on from both Doug and Jay Rich, or at least one of them, like for sure, just move on, just because like these young guys need just minutes just to just play,
Yeah.
grow. Malachi is looks so calm, which he's always had like that type of game to him, and I that's what I've loved about his game is that he's so calm and steady, and he doesn't like freak out to the defense. Like he gets hit to his spot and takes his shots, and um, I think Malachi and Jeremy for sure in the main rotation getting minutes, and Blake catching up is probably to me is the number one like focus going into the rest of the year, and that's why I would make these deals to open up these spots.
Yeah. Like Josh said too, like they need to be aggressive. They have to step up into what their next role for next year is going to be, and this is the perfect time to do it.
I,
Exactly. Go ahead, Juan.
I was gonna say I also think like just like don't like the Trey Jones injury as well, kind of like like hopes Blake will play more, but I feel like Pop's not been too crazy with Sohan and Malachi. I did see him like Blake Wesley was just kind of playing defense on the baseline, and a guy backdoor cut on him, and Pop pulled him out of the game immediately and sat him, and he had just barely got in the game, and so it feels like Blake is still kind of going through those little rough spots where Pop is kind of, I guess people like saying, right, like that short leash and stuff like that. But if it gets to the point where like who else are you gonna play, Blake will get the opportunities out there as well.
No, I agree. I think, and it's something that you'll see with the point guards. When a point guard makes a mistake, Pop's not gonna have it. So it's definitely yeah, like Josh said it. Lonnie, he's getting the Lonnie treatment. But even then, like I think like when you look back at the history, it's like always been the point guards of this team that have talked about how Pop treated them, when as a point guard and stuff like that. So,
Jeremy,
um,
I wonder if Jeremy gets like a workaround almost. You know what I mean? Like he gets the responsibilities, but also he's a little bit more lenient on him for like learning through mistakes or whatever.
Yeah,
mhm. And I'm sure that's just because of the spot that we have Jeremy in, though. We don't have Blake Wesley guarding the best player every night. So it's like one of those things where even though Jeremy will make his mistake, where we're like, well, you gotta, you have other things
Yeah,
that you gotta worry
other
about.
ways other ways to make it up.
Yeah. And so that's definitely the thing that I feel with Jeremy, that like that's why if Jeremy makes a mistake, we're a little bit more okay with it. Because I feel like when Malachi would make his mistakes towards the beginning of the year, not as bad, but you would still see it. Like you
He and
make a
he
mistake
still
and you're
does.
like, all right.
It's mainly on passes. It's mainly on like where which direction guys are going to come off of screens or those kind of things, or at least like that for me. That's kind of what I've seen. Or the ball swings his way, and there are a couple times where it's like, do I shoot or do I pass? Like you'll feel that in indecision or whatever. Um, but yeah, but I don't think he's gotten any like short leash moments that I can remember.
Yeah.
It's all right. I felt like it was towards the beginning of the year when it was happening. And again, like I said, it wasn't like a Lonnie thing where it was the second he made a mistake, we just stopped playing him. It was a thing that just like, all right, one or two mistakes. And then now Pop's got to pull him and talk to him and be like, yo, you got to
Yeah,
look at this.
and
You got to look at that.
it's different too. I mean, like when you're with Lonnie, we were still in the mindset of like, okay, like what can we be with Lonnie, Derek, Dejounte, plus veterans? You know what I'm saying? Like we were still in that era, so it's different.
Hmm.
And also, I gotta like I have a feeling like Pop stresses something like, "Hey, do this or do this. Don't do this."
Exactly.
And then Blake gets in the game and it happens and he, all right. Like I feel like that's what it is, and it was the same way with Lonnie where it kind of was to me like always like defensive lapses, and that's what Pop hates. But at the same time, the way this team is now, it's like the whole team is defensive laps. So like I don't know. I'm hoping for a little bit leniency with Blake as well. I want to see him because he's only like 10 games into his career. Like Blake and Jeremy are 40 games, 50 games in, and you see how much more comfortable they look out there, Malachi and Jeremy. And so with it's going to be the end of the season when Blake gets to the point that they're at right now.
Yeah.
So like you just have to hope he gets all this run because I like what you said. Like they need they need all this burn because you're going to add another young piece next year who probably is going to need all the same, if even more, like
Attention and room
attention.
and space to grow and do their thing. So you have to you as you get older, you have to take less and less of that space.
Yeah. So I like yeah, that to me is the biggest thing. Even if it's not a Wemby, like a top 5 pick coming to this team is going to be the focal point. And these young guys have to be kind of growing and a little bit ahead of time so we could start seeing what this team looks like.
Yeah, I would love,
Hmm.
man. I mean, like, who knows if Pop's gonna be back with us next year or anything like that. But I would love if next year, like, we get a top pick, we have like a new little nucleus, and it's like game one, 2 minutes in, and Pop calls a timeout, and now he's pissed. Like, I would be like, okay, it's different now.
Yeah,
Let's go. I would love for that to happen. That'd be
me
awesome.
too.
Hmm. Well, before we start to wrap up, Caps was talking about Romeo Langford a little bit, just saying that he's kind of been a little disappointed by him, and he's had flashes, but he's not consistent, just like how Lonnie was. And I think that you're kind of right. Like there's just the fact that like it's like on different sides, right? Like Romeo is just like a better defender, and Lonnie was a better scorer. So they both like had their strengths, and then like they just weren't super consistent, and you can kind of see it. But I think there's still hope for a guy like Romeo. I don't think he's like too much on anybody's radar on like how important he is to the organization in that sense. And that's not a bad thing, but it's just a thing where we're gonna be a little bit more focused on a guy like Malaki before we really think about a guy like Romeo. But I've I've always felt like if Romeo is going to come back on a same little like small deal, I'm okay with it because I don't mind having a defensive minded guy be your third or like just like that guy that can like fill in when you need him to, like just to be your third string guard slash forward whenever you need him in there. So I don't
And
mind if we keep a guy like Romeo.
he's dealt with injuries his whole career, and you kind of see it a little bit the last 2 seasons he's been with us. He Look what Josh just said.
Yeah, like that Romeo can't stay on the court. He's been hurt every year, and that Lonnie's deal was a steal. Like I agree, but
Well, Lonnie's hurt right now with the Lakers as well. So like,
Yeah. And currently, right now, we would be having the conversations of like, okay, so is Lonnie gonna eat into Malachi minutes or something like that? Is there we can't play those two guys at the same time or something like that,
exactly.
or Lonnie and Trey or Lonnie and Blake? You know what I'm saying? Like defensively, that would be. I don't know how that would
yeah,
look. You know what I'm saying? So like,
I like Romeo's fit, and I like the type of the archetype, the type of player he is, like a defensive wing, and he's shown to me a lot more on offense than I thought he ever like had. I love when he takes like the smaller guards they try to put on him to just sit in the corner, rest on him. And he just takes them right into the paint and scores right over them. And
Mhm.
like I don't know, I like Romeo's game. I probably would I like Romeo more than Lonnie, like his game and where they're at and what they've shown for us. Obviously, Lonnie could explode for 30. Lonnie was the type of player who would get catch on fire, and go for 30 um, if he was feeling it that night. But I like what Romeo brings as far as defense um, and his little bit of scoring, like a little bit more consistency, I guess, is kind of that feel. But again, it's the same stuff. If some team wants Romeo, I'm not gonna like pull my hair out for losing him. But if we keep him, yeah, I'd like to see him continue to grow. He's young. He was a lottery pick. I don't know. Me and Jake, every time I bring him up, I always forget. He was either a late lottery pick or just right outside the lottery. So you could see like the talents there. It's the same thing with Lonnie. It's like, oh yeah, like if he just kind of puts it together, you know what I mean? Like you can have something here, like a nice rotation piece.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know. I feel like the way this team is built, you just got to let the young guys, the rookies, make sure they get run and it's going to be a little bit tougher on Keldon if you start tearing away the more and more of his team. People are going to start bashing him even more if his efficiency drops, but it's because he's playing with, you know, 10, 19-year-olds next to him. And,
Yeah.
it's going to be a rough little go, but don't get too low on Keldon if his numbers start to dip. He's doing what he can
He's doing what he can, and we've already seen what it looks like when he is a second option and a third option on a team. Like it's
next to
it's
an
good.
all-star point guard. He looks
Yeah.
pretty
Like
good.
he looks good when he's got some more talent around him. So just keep keep your heads up high on these guys. Don't really sell low on anybody except for Zach Collins. So it's just like one of those things where almost all the guys on this team they you can't really be too upset about how they're playing. So
All right, look, I know we're gonna wrap up soon, and so I won't take up too much time. It was cool to see. It was cool to see Collins have a little bit of some success against like um, Porzingis,
Yeah,
right, and a little bit of like Denis, a little bit too, but like
bonus was
Denis had a lot of energy that game though, so he kind of gave it back a little bit. Okay, but then you see a guy like Sabonis, right? So like that's just where my problem lies, and I know that you were like saying like you don't see him as low as I do. Jake said that he's kind of in the middle and that kind of stuff. I was listening to y'all last week. Um, but yeah, my biggest thing is just like okay, you watch a game like Philly, and Jakob just looked a little bit too slow, a little bit out of position on almost every possession against a guy like Joel Embiid, right? And so you're like, okay, it happens when you're playing a guy like Joel Embiid, right? Well, that's how like the game that Yak had against Joel. That's the type of game that I see Zach have against like Bismack Biyombo. You know what I'm saying? And he did. Like I mean, like we play them and Bismack comes in and him and whoever else they have on their team are able to have that kind of success against him. So that's just where my frustration comes. I can never see that man go out there and I can't rely on him to make me feel any kind of like secure about our defense, about our you know what I'm saying? So like I just can't subscribe to it.
yeah, because he's not a true five. You throw
Yeah.
at the five and protect the rim and do stuff like that. But at the same time, on the other end, I feel like he's done a fine job of just scoring and posting up and adding a little bit of
Mm-hmm.
of post presence and playmaking. Because like we don't always have a point guard on that second unit, and I feel like he helps kind of run the offense through the post a little bit. And
Yeah, and he is a guy when he does get somebody smaller on him, he will look for the post. He wants the ball in that moment, and he does like that little put him on your back and real quick just go into a little one step and you're up in the air. So he's got good things. He's got good things. It's just like what you said of like he's our backup center, so we put him in these positions to be a little bit too small, to be a little bit too slow, to be a little bit and so all I get to see is that. And so it just
yep,
that's not what I want. That's not what I want from my backup center. You know what I'm saying? So if we were to find a way, and I'm with you. I don't agree 100%. Like you were saying, like Sean Elliott was pointing out like he's coming back from his injury. It's only been a year and all that. I agree with all that. You know what I mean? So if we're gonna use this year to let him develop, and next year we slide him into a little bit more, a little bit more of a natural four position for him, then we'll see.
Yeah,
Who
because
knows?
who knows? What if like one of like our extra picks turns into like a big man? You know what I mean? And we can slide him as the backup five and put Zach at the four. Like maybe things like work out where you get like a little bit of a rim running defending big finally.
Yeah,
Finally,
like
I don't know how
so.
to
So
say.
I don't mind that kind of stuff. But it's just rough. It's just rough to watch. You know what I'm saying? And long term, I don't want him as a backup center. You know what I'm saying? But it's just harder to see. Like when we're watching Keldon Johnson go out there as a power forward most of the time last year or whatever, and get bodied by, or have not bodied, but having to deal with Jaren Jackson Jr. and Zion and Anthony Davis and stuff like that. Like it's easier to watch that when you know that that's not the long term plan for him. And so when I see a guy like Zach, I'm like, I don't really know exactly what the long term plan is for him. So then I'm like, it ain't this, or I hope
Yeah,
it ain't
yeah,
this. You know, saying
So I agree with this take, and honestly, it's a shame that, like, he goes so many weeks, you just don't really think about it just because he hasn't come up too much. But Bassi is definitely someone that I think I don't know if the starter is like what I would say, but like you know I what Juan was saying, where you have that backup rim running five, and then you're able to slide Zach to the four.
but
Like,
sure, but at the same time,
I think
I would consider Bassi like he's cracking a third string center spot for a lot of teams, in my opinion. Maybe
yeah,
second.
no, and that's what. But like right now, let him be our backup five. Like, let him just grow and develop and become, and see what he can do as our backup five for the rest of the year. And maybe, maybe something
yeah.
happens.
I kind of forgot about Bassie a little bit, like you said. As far as like maybe trading away some of these guys, and then you just sign him to a full, like a regular contract, and
Yeah,
and, br- and
that
bring him
that would
along.
be that would be Zach Collins starting center and
Yeah,
Bassi backing him up for the rest of
I
the year.
think
Sheesh.
Jake joked about that last week. Is when we started to think about it. Oh wait, if we trade Yacht, Zach's gonna be our starting five now,
Yeah.
and it's gonna be a little
And,
bit.
and again, it's like, okay, so let's say that you do that. Are you helping us in the short term? I don't think so. We're putting ourselves in a bad defensive position all the time with our starters. Are we helping him or are we helping him in his trade value? Are we helping him in his, I don't know. He's going to be out there getting cooked by starting centers every night. Are we, you know what I'm saying? Like the more I think about it, it's like, what's the positive of doing that? You know what I'm saying? So like, I don't want to see it. I know that there's some things in this year that are going to happen that don't have to have a long-term effect because it's just this year. I don't want that to be a thing, a lingering thing. I don't really want it to be a short-term thing. I don't want to watch it. I don't want to see that.
Yeah. No, I agree. What's up, Brian?
Hello, hello.
Um,
Thanks for watching.
but yeah, as we start to wrap this up, guys, is there anything that y'all want to finish off our talks about? I know, we just had our Zach Collins rant of the week. But so as I do finish this up, we do come to you guys every Sundays at the 10 a.m.s on all three platforms of Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. You can catch us live on all those three platforms. But if you cannot get us whenever we are live, the VODs will be on all three platforms shortly thereafter. Make sure that y'all do follow us on Twitter at Heroes Half Court, where we do talk about the Spurs on the near daily. We love having the interactions and engagement with the Spurs Twitterverse. So don't be afraid to reach out and talk to us about some Spurs basketball.
Yeah, and I'm hoping we can get a little bit more people watching today. We had like a couple people being able to just kind of stick with us and watch along. That we would love that, you know what I'm saying? Because then that's where the conversation is allowed to just kind of keep flowing, right? So, if anybody watches this on the replay and wants to get in, football season's over, man. So you wake up, wake up, and come
Hmm.
talk some basketball. You know what I'm saying? We love it.
Yeah. Well, with that being said, hope everybody has a wonderful and blessed Sunday. Go Chiefs coming up next week. We'll talk about that a little
Go
bit more.
Chiefs.
I'm full on Pat Mahomes right now. So
Yeah, makes sense. Oh, if this is the last one, because trade deadline is coming up, big time salute to a guy like Jakob, Zach Collins, Kata Bates, Doug, looking Jay Rich, anybody who might not be with us next week, right? Anybody who might not be with us next week, we
Yeah.
appreciate everything that they've been able to do and help our young guys grow, and all that, right? And being professional through all that kind of stuff. So, if it is our last, couple days with those guys, man, we appreciate them.
Yep.
Shout
I
out
agree.
those guys.
Thanks, Caps. We
Shout out
appreciate it.
Caps, man. Thank you, man. Thank you for the support. We appreciate that.
Yeah, we appreciate it a lot.
Thank you.
But alrighty then, y'all. I hope once again, hope everybody has a blessed and wonderful weekend. And with that, we are out. Peace.
Peace.